What's up, bro?
My friend, how are you?
Good and you?
Cape Preezy in the building, President, Mr. Duduzane Zuma.
My brother, how are you doing,
sir?
sir? All right, and you, Mr. Zipozonke Mshong.
No, say Mafung. Do you know Mafung?
Zipozonke Alamin Maswazi Mshong.
Your man.
Ow.
Pepe. Nana, how are you doing, man?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. I won't say us, but thanks for joining. Na 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 na.
All the way from Cape Preezy, Nana, and
Good
we've
to be
got my homie there, Mobi, Kize.
Kabaze.
Oh, Bob Zuma.
What's going on, family?
I love
No, good. Good to see you, my brother.
See you too, my brother. As always.
Now we're all good, man. Guys, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
In my hood.
Thank you.
We out here in Mhlanga, in this place called the Legacy Yard, and I just wanted to have lunch with my homies today. So I'm lucky enough to call these guys my friends and people that I respect. And yeah, man, thank you guys for making yourselves available to come and enjoy time with me.
And lunch on you.
Lunch on me.
No doubt. Thank you very much.
I'm a lonely guy, so I don't have people. I don't have. This is good for me.
Yeah.
Especially I'm fasting tomorrow.
No doubt.
So you're going to eat a lot
No
today.
doubt.
Yeah, I have to eat. I have to eat.
No doubt.
Thank you guys.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you so much.
Nana, when you going back to Cape Town?
Tomorrow evening.
Weren't you supposed to leave yesterday?
I was actually.
And then you stayed what?
How could I not be here for lunch? What do you mean?
How are you finding Cape Town?
It's good. It's got its days, but it's alright. It's
Yeah.
alright.
Better than Durban?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
All right.
But like, what's the difference though? Like, I mean, is it just because it's hot water? I mean, it's cold water that side, and it's hot water in Durban. Is that the only difference?
No, that's definitely not the
Or is
only
it the
difference.
people? Is it? I mean, what is it? Because it's two coastal cities.
I think
Nguni languages
the
dominate.
demographics alone is a very huge disparity compared to any other city in the country.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like Cape Town there's clear lines there. I'll let you guys see what those lines are, because I don't want to be that guy. But there's clear lines between Cape Town and Durban and Johannesburg and anything in between. You know what I mean? So I think, yeah.
My view on the difference between the two coastal cities is one, and just being real. When it comes to the marketing of the city of Cape Town, and I mean it's not just now, just over a period of time. It's been a marketing plan that has progressed. So it hasn't been something that's just been thrown in your face and quick results. It's been over a period of time.
Yeah.
But more importantly than marketing for international audience or tourists, they've managed to get this immigration thing right, where it's marketable to South Africans who want to be at the coast, who have a certain lifestyle that they want to live, a certain look and feel. And I think that is where Cape Town has definitely gotten the drop on Durban. I mean, honestly speaking, if you look at the amount of time that's been spent in infrastructure that's related to the look and feel of the city, and also the way the management of the city happens. I mean, it's an obvious case. I mean, we're not taking anything away from Durban. Durban has come a long way, but there's a lot that needs to be done in the city from a marketing perspective, and unfortunately maintenance. You know, so.
Oh,
Hi,
yeah.
guys.
Hi, how are you doing,
Good,
man?
thank you. My name's Rueda. I'll be your waitress for today.
Zuraida.
Rueda.
Yes. Good to meet you, man.
Alright.
Thank you very much.
These are our digital menus, so you guys are going to have to scan them with your phones. I'll be back to take your order when you're ready. Please don't place the order on the app. I'll manually take it from you.
Thank you very
All right,
much.
thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Thank you.
That's some
Sorry, ma'am. Rueda, any recommendations? Non-alcoholic.
Pardon?
Non-alcoholic.
We have virgin
None of these guys drink, including myself.
virgin mojitos, passion fruits and lemonade. I can make another virgin cocktail, pretty in pink. That's about it.
Okay, cool.
Can I get a sparkling water, please?
Sparkling
Yeah, with
water.
some passion fruit.
Can you make that too? Actually,
With passion fruit as well.
no, without the just sparkling water.
And lots of ice.
I'll have a virgin mojito, please.
Virgin
Thank
mojito.
you.
Whatever drink that matches my shirt that is non-alcoholic. Let's go.
Alright.
And then a still water as well, please.
Sure.
Thank you, Rueda.
Thank you very much. Fourth industrial revolution. What do they call it? Fourth IR. 4IR.
4IR.
No, that's good.
No, this is COVID.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know. But you know, it's part of
Oh yeah.
But you
where we're
mentioned-
trying to go.
You mentioned something interesting
Yeah.
about the alcohol. Alcohol, it's rare that you're gonna have, and okay, from my experience, it's rare to see a table of 4 people and none of us are ordering alcohol. Like, I actually wanna know, like, each of you guys, why don't you drink alcohol? Especially in a country where we always say peer pressure makes people do certain things that they wouldn't normally do if they were alone.
Sure.
So maybe you start with Ngobi, get your whole idea of why don't you drink and when did it start?
Personally, with me,
When did your non-alcoholism start?
I started last year.
it's been well over a year.
Oh,
No,
you
or
did
maybe
it.
more. Or maybe more. The thing is, I wouldn't call myself a drinker because
Okay.
when it comes to drinking, alcoholism and all that stuff, there's a huge spectrum.
Sure.
Right? A huge spectrum. The difference between an alcoholic and non-alcoholic is one more drink.
Hey, boo.
It's just one more drink, right?
Deep.
And well, that's it. But with me personally, I've had my own personal experiences where I realized that it's not the way. And people call it a drug as much as it's socially acceptable. But personally, for me, I realized that I can't. It's not for me. There's no good that can come out of it. There's less benefits than there are
Gains
good
or-
things.
Sure.
So
But you knew all these things even when you were drinking. So what is the thing that said, you know what, today I'm stopping?
you know, it's funny because in a world where alcohol and drugs in general are glorified and normalized, setting yourself apart is for me is what helped me, you know, to actually, you know, I thought to myself, you know what, I can't be living like this. I've had a few incidences where I've seen people aside, not from me, doing things that are
Not you, someone
not me
else.
on the left. You know what I mean? So I realized I can't be looking like that. I can't be doing things like that. So there was nothing hectic, nothing bad. I just decided, you know, actually, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Right, sooner the better. That was it for me, really.
Miss Nana?
Unlike him, it's been a few months, but
How many months exactly?
Hey, these are
about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
new non-alcoholics. But
It feels like an
Yeah.
AA meeting right now.
But the thing is, there came a point where I realized that okay, there are certain things that I'm trying to do, and alcohol wastes time and wastes money. You wake up late the next day, even if you're just having a glass of wine at home or just chilling, but it does take up a lot of your time, and it interferes with your goals and the things that you're trying to achieve. So it's just a personal decision, like, you know what, this is not helping me. It's not an issue of lacking self-control or just being out in the streets. It was just one of those, like, listen here, put your head down. If this is what you want to do, alcohol is not going to be your friend in that process.
Nice. Mr. President?
no, from my side, I don't drink. The only time that I tried, or as they say, experimented, was when I was 18 in a safe environment, might I add. Yeah, there were white boys involved, of course.
Hey,
Anyways, so two reasons I don't drink. The one, I tried it out and I don't like the taste. I like sweet tastings. And some people say, there are some sweet tasting alcoholic drinks, but that taste of alcohol, that burning feeling, it's not my thing. So I like things that are going to quench my thirst, and beverages that just have a nice soft taste. Tried it out, and we played all sorts of drinking games. And I went in, I said, I'm going to give it a shot to see what this is about. And I realized, this foolery is not for me. You know, coinage and all these other games that drinkers play. And then I obviously got sick because I was mixing of alcohols. I didn't like the feeling of being sick, waking up the next morning and not being able to just get on with the day, because we went skateboarding the next day. And as you're skating around the city, I realized, not for me. And I was 18. I'm 40 now, so that's the only time I tried, and it didn't work out for me. And then the other experience I had has got to do with the smell of alcohol.
In the morning,
you know, but
especially.
but the smell of alcohol mixed with when someone regurgitates or calls for Ralph, vomits, whatever the terms are.
Chandas.
Chand. You know, that and sometimes you get it in certain pubs where it's left in the carpet or in the draping, and you know that it really puts me off because I was with friends of mine. This is another experience. There's a rap group that was here many years ago in the late 90s called Dead Prez. They were performing in Braamfontein at that time. So we're on our way there back, and you know, guys got drunk. Besides the driver, he was a responsible guy, and someone in the back seat, because we were packed in the back seat. A 325 IS crammed up, sound, subwoofers, crossovers, tweeters.
It's a rebel back in.
No, just having a good time as any young person would. So a friend of mine threw up in the car, and unfortunately for me, I was next to him. So he was asleep, and I felt an unnatural, uncomfortable warmth on my shoulder. And as I nudged him to wake him up, it's the worst mistake I did. So he projectile vomited, and I turned. So yeah, I think he had peas and corn for dinner that evening, and that was the last time. So just that smell of alcohol mixed with that just and it's traumatic to me. And I like being in control of my actions, and I like being able to recall. And the one thing that I was able to do was recall when I was 18. So this excuse of people like, I don't remember a thing, I'm like, nah, no, don't buy that. But so those are my two experiences of alcohol.
It's interesting you say that, because there's always a test that I use when people say, I was too drunk, that's why I did what I did. I always say, because a lot of people they cheat when they drunk, right? So they always say, I wouldn't have done it if I wasn't drunk. I'll just ask a simple question: if that was your brother, would you have kissed him in that state that you're in? Most of them say, of course I wouldn't kiss my brother. Well, then clearly you still
that's extreme.
you still know what you're doing, clearly. No, but it's about just testing if you really, because the whole idea is that you're too drunk to know what you're doing. So if you know that it's your brother and I shouldn't kiss him, then surely you should know that I shouldn't kiss that guy because he's not my boyfriend.
Exactly.
Or I shouldn't kiss her because she's not my girlfriend. So people just use it as an excuse.
It's not that they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, but at that time it's like they'll blame it on the alcohol, the decision-making process, but not that they don't know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. And alcohol courage, you heard of that? So
What's it? Liquid courage.
that's what they say. So.
But on a more serious note, we're making light of the situation. They've been when it comes to drinking and the abuse of alcohol. There's some very serious, sinister, unfortunate things that happen on a daily basis in our country. That people, I'm sure, regret after the fact. So for any abuse of any substance, alcohol being one of them, as Moby had mentioned earlier on, we do have a serious problem of alcoholism in this country. Let's be honest. A lot of people look forward to having a good time. There's nothing wrong with that, but a good time these days equates to being completely wasted out of your mind, and leading to irresponsible behavior such as drinking and driving, and just performing. We've seen people performing in restaurants, in public spaces, because they are intoxicated. And we see the levels of criminality and the liquid courage people get to do all sorts of crazy things. You look at the amount of money that's spent on alcohol by people that don't necessarily have. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rhoda. Thank you, ma'am.
Just in case you guys want to grab something to eat, just make sure to scan the menu. Our platters are right at the bottom.
Thank you very much.
you.
We appreciate it. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So what we need to take note of is that there is a serious problem of alcoholism in our societies. You go to most communities in this country, it's a problem, and that alcoholism leads to issues of degeneration within those communities. We've seen people's dreams on either side of the drinking episode being taken away from them.
That's true.
We've seen sports stars in the making that alcohol has stopped those dreams. We've seen professionals who've been at the highest heights in whatever discipline in their careers, whether it be in the legal space, in the business space. We've seen some even in the political space that alcohol has destroyed their careers because it's affected them in one way or another. But the biggest issue is the level of or the age of people who have drinking problems, getting much younger and younger.
It is getting
Yeah.
It's a very unfortunate phase in our society, and this is something that we need to address. And if we need to take hard steps, we need to take hard steps, because alcoholism, amongst other issues, and I'm sure we'll touch upon them later, is robbing
Yeah.
our country of the brightest talents, the brightest minds.
Yeah, it's actually.
I remember during COVID times there was no alcohol. Sometimes it was a period, I think it was stage 4,
Yeah.
where people were not allowed to consume, move, and purchase alcohol. And then thoughts came around that actually maybe alcohol should be scrapped out of the economy itself and just our society as a whole, to curb gender-based violence, criminality, road carnage, and stuff like that. But people justified it using economic basis, that it's a backbone of our society,
Sure.
of our economy. It's one of the things that actually keep our society and our economy, South Africans, running. Apparently is one of the biggest brewery companies in the world.
Fact.
They just acquired different conglomerates. I think it was Heineken and some Chinese companies as well.
I think AB InBev was,
And touching up on that, on things that actually affect our society now in 2023. What can you guys think about, or maybe remove or insert into society? Ours, right now.
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Because you said you said, Mr. President, that we need to find a way to deal with this. But how often do we put the responsibility on the family unit? Because I feel like their family lives with each individual every day. I know my brother more than the people outside. I know what he does. I know what stresses him. I know what puts him in certain situations and that makes him want to go drink.
Yeah.
How? Because I've seen it in my own life, where the person who drinks, the person who has the problems, so to speak, is given more leeway than the person who's disciplined. For example, if I don't drink, I'm gonna make my own food, right? Because I'm there at home. I'm eating at the time that everyone's eating, 6, 7. But the guy who's drinking, make sure ukudla kwakho kukhona, uzobuya ngo-4, but just make sure that he finds his food. That is when are we gonna start saying that we need to be accountable in the family unit, to say the family is in charge of fixing this thing? I don't agree with saying the economy is going to suffer, therefore we must enable bad behavior. I think that's like a bad argument, because then what if hypothetically murder becomes a very illustrious career, or a very lucrative industry, murder? So we're going to say, hey, let's keep people killing each other because it's good for the economy. You know what I mean? So
like being a
we need
hitman,
to clearly the conversation is more nuanced than that. So I mean, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on that.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying, because a lot of the problems that we find in society, you find that the root of the problem stems from the family unit. The lack of discipline, lack of control. We see so many videos nowadays of young kids in uniforms. If it's the last day of school, you'll find them drinking at a field. You'll find that they're like 13 years old, some even younger. And you ask yourself, how is this actually happening? Where are the parents, or what is it that makes the kids think this is an okay thing to do? And when you get home, because I know when I was young, you can't just walk up into the house walking anyhow. You have to just have your posture right. You have to know what your responsibility is of the day. Are you chopping onion today? Are you helping someone wash the dishes? And so I really think that we need to look back into family structure, because once the family structure is not steady, that's why we find that we have abuse issues, GBV and all those things. It just spirals out of control. And unfortunately, it's not something that the government must be told, no, you fix this.
100%.
No, you take care of your child. You make sure your child is a respectful child, knows that if something falls on the floor, they pick it up, knows how to greet people, knows how to carry themselves and be responsible for themselves first. Otherwise, everything's just going to keep going downhill as we're seeing it now. If you were to say now, teenagers can't drink at all. You'll see them like on top of buildings. Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
My dad does this every weekend, and then he beats up my mom, and that's a norm.
Yeah.
So we have to look into this a bit more seriously, and parents have to be accountable. They have to be accountable.
No, I fully agree. I think it boils down to society, it boils down to communities, and it boils down to families. Because if you look at most times when there are issues of criminality, you go into any hood, any neighborhood, any suburb, far deep in the rural areas, townships as well, and you look at the way the problem starts and how it ends, it's very similar. We're not going to speak of the root, whether it's a drinking problem. We're speaking about criminality. What it boils down to is most times when a crime happens, besides obviously the heinous, crazy things that happen out there, but when a crime happens within a community, most people know the perpetrator and the victim.
Yeah.
Most people know
Yeah.
before it's reported to the police station. Whether it's an issue of GBV, whether it's an assault case at a bar or tavern, or on the road, next door neighbor, whatever it is. In cases now, I mean, we are in the middle of Durban, and there's a lot of killings that have been happening. It's not that it hasn't been happening over a period of time, but it's becoming highlighted because there's a lot more happening, and it's happening at very obvious places.
Yeah.
When it's deep down in the corners where no one cares about, nothing happens. But once it touches places where it becomes highlighted because of it being an affluent area or affluent people around that area, it becomes an issue. So to agree with Nana, by the time you get to a police station, you can't have the onus on police only. Issues of crime can not only be an issue of enforcement. It needs to be an issue of the community standing up. If you know that, the fact is most people know who the local drug dealers are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people
That's
know
true.
who the hitters are. It may not be everybody. Most people know, okay, so and so, yeah, we know because he's been smoking people left, right, and center.
Yeah.
His brother used to do that, so and his brother was taken out, so he's a new guy on the scene, and he's carrying on the legacy of whatever that issue or whatever that problem is. So a lot of our communities miss the opportunity because they're afraid.
Yeah.
If I go and report the crime, I become the target.
Yeah.
But it can't be a single person. It needs to be a collective solution. Where people say, you know what, we're tired of these issues.
Right.
As much as you put so much emphasis on issues of registrations at primary schools and high schools at the beginning of the year, as parents and as community members, as much as you put emphasis on street lights not working and services of rubbish collection or parks not being maintained, whatever it is, you need to put the same energy and speak with your chest on issues of killings, murders, and gender-based violence activity in your community. Use the same energy because it's there. It happens. Most people know where it stems from, but the issue is people don't report. And then finally, without speaking too long, to give an opportunity to the rest of the panelists and guests, is most times when you get to the police station, you will find the accused and the co-accused. And let's speak about GBV in this case. By the time people report the victim reports the crime, by the time they get home, most times those people are back in the same system, and it's a kiss and make up story. Because of whatever the agreements and arrangements and whatever the circumstances around that relationship. So that's also the issue when it comes to the actual people involved in that experience. But the person that is the perpetrator or the person that is being wronged in this case, needs to maintain that accusation. Because what happens is you'll find people will come there, community, 5-6 people will be witnesses, they'll stick their necks out, and the next thing, the person drops charges, and then it becomes like, so you lose trust within the community saying, hey, the one time we came to help you out, you backtracked. So I think there also needs to be more seriousness from society and people themselves. not just law enforcement. By the time you get to that point, your ducks need to be in a row. You can't expect police to resolve issues that can be resolved within a community setting.
Bob Zuma, I hear you, love, and I agree. Communities, yes, need to be proactive in that manner. But now on a broader scale, like a national scale, let's talk about how people always say negative things or connotations about immigrants, illegal ones, of course. That, okay, they're here to sell drugs, they murder, they steal, hijacking, all of that. But what I usually say is that, okay, cool, some of them yes, some of them no. But who's enabling them to do that in this country? Is it the soldiers at the border gates? Is it our police force that works with these people to make it work? Because sometimes the rot is right within there, and they're just playing along with the rot, right? I mean, if the glass is clean, and you can't pour something dirty in a clean glass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Most of the time, pigs play together what I'm trying to say is the pigs play together in the same mud. So I don't know, guys. What's your opinion on that? Like, I'm curious to hear about that. The enablement of.
Are you saying we take criminality serious when it becomes illegal foreigners? Why is that the case? And then versus just dealing with criminality as a whole.
No. What Kabazel is saying is basically there are many people on many levels turning a blind eye to what the issues are, right? So by the time people cross the border, yes, the people will cross without being noticed, without being seen, border jumpers, whatever it is. But then there's a time where these people are also assisted in entering the country. I mean, not just South Africa, in many places, where you'll find they bypass the system by the help of an immigration officer, border control, whatever it is. And most times it comes with remuneration, where the person is paid a certain fee to go and do their thing. So what we need to remember is we need to amplify the systems that exist. We need to get a certain layer of technology to deal with these issues, because once there's humans involved, there's a major issue of human error, human intervention. That goes for issues in contractual or government tenders, and that sort of perspective. So what needs to happen in my case, and I agree with you, there are different levels, and we've seen it being reported on. We've seen people being caught and locked up for these transgressions. There needs to be a more serious approach to these issues, and a more unapologetic approach. Guys, this is a system. If we need to set up cameras left, right, and center, let's do so. Let's set up our artificial intelligence. Let's set up our blockchain technologies that are incorruptible, that are unhackable, and let's get to a point where we deal with these issues where we don't have to rely on a Duduzane who's sitting at a border post. He needs to be managed by a technology that is straight down the line. So.
And it's there.
It's there. Because if you look at our infrastructure, it is border patrol. It's. I mean, that's going to be a function of Home Affairs. Yes, there's South African Revenue Services as well, because I mean, there's goods and everything else. But I mean, from a monitoring perspective, then you have South African police on this side that need to monitor anything from once people cross that line in. There's a function of defense that needs to see what's going on as the last line of defense in our country. And then we also have a very important role, which is intelligence. So in each sector, you have police intelligence within the police, South African police services. You have military intelligence within the defense system.
It reminds me of a conversation we once had in the past, when you were talking about the efficacy of labor within government institutions. So in this case, we're talking about police some of them work with, and you ask yourself why. But then we forget about these labor disputes, pay, things like that affect the competence of someone of a policeman or of a nurse
Yeah.
or those government public servants. So how much does that play into the lack of competency of said public servants? And in that, because I mean, there's an argument that says labor unions are a bit too strong in this country, or they're given too much influence, and maybe an argument says maybe we need to cut them out and deal directly government and workers. Those are one of the things that people are saying. So I'd like to hear your opinions on that.
Just to touch quickly on the technology issue, just take a step back. Our system is quite weak. Our institutions are weak. We know they're weak, but nothing is really being done to address that. Technology, we know a lot of things could go more smoothly. The public would feel safer. We'd get results. Cases would be cracked. Things would happen. But now there are certain things that we're not moving away from, that we have just left to just be. For example, the docket system. How many times do you hear that a docket got lost? That's like ingrained in the systematic culture of the police service. That's like all the time. At what point are we going to say, no, we can't have a country where dockets get lost? We actually don't have dockets. If there's a crime that happens, a person does what we do at the bank. I'm so sorry. They took that away from you, but yes, at the bank you just do this, and then everything comes. Yes,
Biometrics, 100%.
Biometrics, and then everything rings up on the person. So I'm not sure sometimes if it's an issue of the government not having that willingness to actually care so much and try these things and say, okay, at least we tried, it didn't work for us, or us to just continue the way that we are.
There's willingness, that's one thing, but the other side is the Constitution, human rights more specifically. I mean, we're in Human Rights Month. It was Human Rights Day 2 days ago, and you'll find human rights is a very common theme in our country. It's my constitution, I've got my rights, and you'll find a lot of people are not willing to partake in certain programs that are put in place because it feels it infringes on their rights, right to information, privacy, and that sort of thing. And where is that line drawn? And then there's a whole discussion, which is a global issue, which is termed as Big Brother. So governments actually watching and encroaching on people's lives, information, movements. So that fine line is something that I think is an issue. One being the lack of willingness, and I think that people within the administration of this country that are not willing to do so. If it's either they don't understand it or they don't know it, or they're just not interested in doing it. Either or is not good. And then secondly, it's grappling with legislature. A lot of the stuff we see, there's always debates and ratifications within Parliament for very simple things. I think there's just too much time spent on consulting, too much time spent on talking about issues that we know we should be dealing with. That's my view on that. That's my view on that. And speaking about that, and just when it comes to issues of development and that sort of thing, what are your guys' take on the state of South African sports in this country, as per where it's at? Rugby, soccer, cricket, boxing, whatever it is, and administrative issues or positives around it.
It's funny because I used to play sports pretty seriously when I was in high school, and the arguments then are still valid now. For example, in soccer, in the soccer space, there's too much interference in the developmental side of the sport. So instead of just saying, let's get people out into the country, no matter what the place is, whether it's a suburbs, whether it's a private school, whether it's a public school, whether it's a township, or let's just get and find as much talent as we can. It becomes that whole historical nature of South Africa gets a play. So for example, if you're a good sports black guy, people are not going to give you credit for making it onto a provincial South African team on your merits. They're going to say, quota. So as a black guy, you feel like am I really here? Now you start doubting yourself.
Yeah.
And confidence is a big thing in sport.
Yeah.
You need to feel like you're part of a team.
Yeah.
So those matters. And then the other thing is, in the soccer space, you get. That's why I feel like our soccer is at such a poor level, because they feel like only townships produce great players.
That's true.
So they only concentrate on, and not just any township. They say Soweto or Gauteng province
Yeah,
townships.
yeah.
Everyone else, you'll make it hook or crook. You know what I mean? So I feel like we are shortchanging ourselves in that, and we're not putting enough money on development. That's why our rugby is good. That's why our cricket is competitive on an international level, because they actually put money into the developmental side, and they get people out.
Yeah.
I've been approached more on cricket than I have been about soccer. And I grew up in a township. It's Kawin. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
things like that, like I feel like our sport, I mean, just to finish this point, England, the soccer team had the same problem after the 2006 World Cup. They had a golden generation,
Yeah.
but the country felt like the reason why they keep failing is because there's not enough money being put into the developmental side of the sport. They're relying too much on the Premier League, whatever, and there's no development, and that's why they used to fail. They changed their game plan. They said they started putting money into development, no matter where in the country. And then if you've seen in the last, I'd say last 8 years, England has at least made it into the semi-final of every big tournament, or at least the last 3 big
true.
tournaments.
It's true.
So that shows you that take your development seriously, everything else will follow from that.
Yeah.
So I could talk forever about sports, but
Sports,
I feel
yeah.
like that's our fundamental issue: is development. We're not focusing on development.
Yes, it's true. Development is very important in every single sport, and every single sport is supposed to be equal. Everything should be taken seriously. Like rugby, cricket, football, or like the 3 main sports in this country that we're very good at, and athletics. Touching on that point
And drinking.
of
That was a joke.
Of,
It was an Olympic sport, yeah. I think
touching at points of townships and suburban kids and development and scouting. The line needs to be drawn there of when are we going to stop actually having that sort of stereotype? I don't know. Maybe there's a better word for that. For actually scouting for. Looking for cricket players, you go to suburban schools. If you're looking for footballers, go to township. It's incorrect. It's wrong. It doesn't make any sense, because we're now literally denying ourselves of so much of talent out here. So much of talent, and we're literally marginalizing people. It's a slight apartheid in a way, slight marginalization, which is not correct. That's why certain sports will always stay down, like basketball. Basketball.
You say slight apartheid. Okay, let me throw this at you. Let me be the
devil's advocate.
advocate for that guy. Sports in South Africa, is administered by a government that is a black government.
Yeah.
You look at from a governmental perspective, you look at setups. So you have government institutions that are tasked to look after developmental issues within these sporting codes. You look at soccer, black teams, right? You look at boxing, for example. Majority of the fighters are black. And you look at the people administering at those association levels or at those leagues, black people in the main, right? And then you look at your counterparts in our counterparts in rugby and cricket, where yes, government does overlook at it, but if you look at the management of it, it's normally white teams, white advisors, and white executives in that space. Now, how is it that rugby and cricket have always flourished, and more especially rugby, in comparison to soccer and sports like boxing? Just to counter your argument, where you spoke about apartheid and that sort of thing. My thought on the process is administration is what it boils down to. The people that administer, the people that make decisions, the people that are put in place to make these things happen, they're not getting it. Because if you just look at rugby, for example, how SuperSport plays a part. SuperSport is not a government institution, it's a private institution. But how they promote it, yes, they're a media house, but I mean, at the same time, South Africa's got the SABC, South African Broadcasting Corporation, and at one point, before Supersport blew up to this international giant. They had the run on all sports. Then you look at the amount of money that's pushed in and the amount of talent that comes out. If you look at rugby, there never has been a lapse from school rugby. You know the tournaments that happen. School, right? Attendance, interest, sponsors. Then you get to the lower leagues. Maybe it be the teams that play in the local teams, that they are different rugby clubs and country clubs, and then until you get to your provincial teams and then your national team. It's always remained at a very, very high standard. With South African soccer, I mean, it's no secret, the standard is dropping. You look at boxing, the standard, I mean, it's almost non-existent. You know, so when we speak about, you know, bringing the issue of history into it, as much as it was a problem then, I don't think that is an argument anymore. We've had the opportunity. We've been in charge of these institutions. How have we gotten it wrong? Goes down to management, my brother. And that goes to everything. Municipalities, that goes down to ministries, that goes down to everything. It's a management issue. There's people that don't understand the game of management and how to manage, my apologies, or they're just not interested. Those people need to be moved out of the way. We need to get to a point where this country the opportunities are based on merit, and that's the one thing that we're driving. The reason why we're getting involved in the political space, not to politicize this discussion, is to get to a point where we reform this country socially, economically, even politically, to a point where the playing field is open to everybody. Survival of the fittest. So whether you're black, white, colored, Indian, male, female, and whatever issues have existed in the history of this country. If you're not up to the task, tough luck, next better man. You know, and we need to have this, and this links into your discussion on the unions. So my final point is, as much as workers have rights and workers' rights need to be protected, we cannot take workers and use and we're weaponizing unions. You know, we're using unions to fight political battles. We're using unions to fight, at some point, even economic battles. When are we going to get to a point where we have people that are willing and able to work and are represented and their needs are looked after? Because their needs need to be looked after. But when the work is happening, we can't have, I mean, South Africa is one of the few places in the world where we have strike season. It's normally between now, late February and July, where we have strikes. We're striking all the time, you know, and then it may be for the right reasons, but we need to take everything into consideration. We need to take into account that there's an economy that we're trying to build. Once we get to that place where everything normalizes, then we can start speaking about increases and looking after people the way they need to be looked after. But for now, we're not in that position. You know, we cannot be on a downturn and then expecting increases.
What do you on that point? What do you say?
But our workers need to be our frontline workers, our South African police, doctors and nurses in the public healthcare space, defense force. That level of earning definitely needs to be up. Because at the rate at which we're going, the amount we're being paid is the services that we're getting. We up that earning, and we also need to get rid of the riffraff, because there's dead weight that's being carried in some of these institutions. You look at service levels. I mean, we can't be in a situation where you enter a country and the first point of contact you have from a home affairs perspective is an official at the airport, and you get a bad experience. That speaks volumes of where our country is at. Banking, same story. Everywhere you go, it's a queue, and it's someone who seems not interested to be there at that front line. Go home. Give someone else an opportunity, and if that person is not good enough and if they're not performing, get them out of the way. But it shouldn't be a case where now you're fighting with unions. It's a CCMA matter for issues where people are not performing. It's a different matter when there's real issues and people need to be taken care of. But if it's issues of non-performance, it can't be a discussion. Keep it moving, next better man or woman. So I just wanted to make that point.
Just to touch on the labor issue, when we look, let's just take policemen, right? And we have to look at what does it actually take to become a policeman in South Africa. what is the actual standard? Because these people are there to protect the lives of the citizens.
Yeah.
In other countries, it's not. I'm not saying it's easy to become a policeman here, but when we look around or here,
It is
in
easy.
other-
Let's be
let's be honest.
let's be honest.
But yeah, it's you have to have a degree, for example, like a social sciences degree to become a policeman. For example, in New York City, you just don't become a policeman. You have to have that. You have to have real skills.
2-year training as well.
Yes, and yes, even when they walk the streets, they walk with pride. Like, I am here to save your life. Nothing's
Yeah.
going to happen to you. There's something wrong then with the way that we kickstart this whole process of becoming a police
Yeah,
person.
now when I look at the Obama Zibu,
Yes,
They come
the
with this
fitness
stomachs.
is another story for another day.
Don't be like
Fitness issue, another story for another day. But honestly, if a crime occurs right now and a criminal has to be chased, when will they be caught? And if it's so easy to become a policeman, what makes you want to put your life on the line? You know? And why should the system or the government actually pay you so much? You don't have the skills, you don't have the mindset to wake up and say, I'm going out there and I'm going to do the right thing for the people that I'm here to protect. Are you a protector? No, you're not. So we have to look at the basics. Let's just get back down to the basics. Before we pay people a lot of money, yes,
no.
that's a requirement, but can we just do it right? Because something is wrong.
Yeah.
I've had a situation where I was I was being hijacked by about 6 guys. They closed me in at a cul-de-sac. 9 o'clock in the morning, 24th of November, some years ago. They came out, first time seeing guns like in my face like this. What happened was there were 2 guys sitting in the front, and then one of them happened to recognize me. I guess we grew up in the township together, and he put a cap on his face and he started talking to the driver and told the driver to tell the guys to just stop this whole thing, I know her. And then they told him, just come back, we're not taking anything, etc. Long story short, police came, and I said to them, this is where they were touching the car, you know, you come through for
Fingerprints,
some.
whatever.
And he said to
Forensics.
me, huh? I said, and I was like, am I watching too much TV? Because I think that this is what's supposed to happen now. So things like that. Writing of statements, even the English, and that's something drastic has to happen before people are rewarded. We can't pay people for the potential that you can be a great policeman. No, we're not paying people for potential.
No, 100%.
No. Let's save lives.
Yeah, that's that. And the reason I agree with you, and what I was saying is not just upping for the sake of upping,
no, I get-
because there are some very good policemen in the
Yeah.
system.
Yes, we do have.
But if you also look at it, there's constraints. If you look at departmental, home affairs, and in this case we're speaking about the police, South African police services, is the systems in place. As much as there are crooked cops, as much as there are bad cops, as much as there are incompetent police men and women, they are good ones. But the system that they work in lets them down. Why? If you collect all that information, which they should be doing once, there's no excuse for them not to be taken. From a forensics perspective, that is step number 1. Our labs, we used to have some of the best labs that existed in the world in South Africa. Our forensics labs are completely dilapidated.
Yeah.
Very few people, very few labs, and the skills that are required to operate those labs are not there anymore. They've moved on, they've left, they've passed away, that skill hasn't been handed down, so people are not getting those skills. So you find most guys will be like, okay, we do this work, we're doing it for nothing. And that, it comes across in some cases where people are like, if you'll see a police scene, it's contaminated. I mean, we all know that because now, we watch documentaries, we watch movies, we watch shows, and we get to understand, and we read about it, we research some of these things, and we read about the basics of what needs to be done. And a lot of steps are being missed, and that goes generally for a lot happening in this country. So all I was saying is, before we even get to the point of degrees, because not everyone is going to have an opportunity to go to school.
Yeah.
You can do it within the policing system. It was done historically, where you come in, and if you're serious about it, you build yourself up. a career policeman or woman, you build yourself up, you'll get to a point where you have your accreditation or your competency or your qualification and whatever it is that you're trying to do in the police services. But I think as a prerequisite, as you get to the application center, wherever it is, there needs to be just a simple test. Okay, we're sitting in the middle of Umhlanga, for example, right? There's an intake of 100 applicants here, right? 100 people, whether you are wearing formal shoes, whatever it is, take them off if you need to. I need you to run from here to Gateway and back, and the cutoff time is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right, it's been done. I've done it.
Yeah.
We do this every month as a continuation of fitness levels, whatever. And the people that don't make it within that time frame, chief, no discussion. Have a nice day. So out of that 100, you get 3. You intake that as a starting point because there needs to be a level of seriousness
Yes.
Yeah.
as per standard, and then from there you build, because it becomes a situation where the people that take themselves seriously, they'll come to they'll rise to themselves,
seriously.
and then from there you can start investing in them and getting them to a point where they get their competencies and they go. So that's the angle that I was coming from, to say we'll get to a point where, and that goes to the other disciplines, doctors, nurses, military personnel, soldiers, but it needs to start somewhere. You know, the simple things. If you're going to get involved in a foot chase, you're able to. Yes, not everyone will be able to, but I mean that is part of the prerequisite when you are on the beat.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because on the sports thing, I like to use sports as a microcosm for a lot of things that happen. If you want to play for like South Africa, for example, that's your ambition, you want to play for South Africa in whatever sport, they're not going to say, you know what, because all of us want to play for South Africa, let's just put them in.
Yeah.
There's a standard that you have
Yeah.
to, there's a fitness standard, there's a skill standard, there's a all standard that you have to work yourself up to get there.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to try and make concessions for you. And I
Yeah.
feel like I agree with you when you say that even if it's 3 people that make it, at least the standard is set, because then the rest of these 97 that didn't make it, they're going to say, hey, if I want to make the police service, I need to get to that standard.
Yeah.
Come back the next year or whenever the next opportunity is, work myself up and get there. That's the only, and what you said, going back to basics.
Sure.
You know, we need everything just to go back to basics, and it starts with, again, just personal accountability, personal discipline.
Yeah.
Personal. I feel like in our South African landscape, we don't talk enough about personal responsibility, personal accountability,
Yeah.
personal goals, personal aspirations. We don't talk about that enough. Someone must always do something for us. Some political party or this uncle or this person, they not doing enough for me, therefore I can't do anything.
Sure.
So I think, again, when you talk about mindsets, and what I love about what you are doing in the political space is that you're challenging people to change their mindsets, because
Take
you're
a
saying,
mirror.
guys, look, we've got 30 years of data, we've been doing things one way,
Yeah.
and it's not working. So clearly we need to change the way we think, so that we can use another set of data and say, okay, because we changed our way of thinking, we're able to now progress the way we're progressing. So that's one thing I want to say now while I've got you here, to say I appreciate that because it's not easy. It's not easy to change people's mindset
not.
that have been thinking the same way for 30 years.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, and from my side, as much as you are appreciating what it is that we're trying to do on our side, I mean, we appreciate what everyone else is trying to do
Yeah.
in their space. And I mean, I'll take it back to your side. You're someone that I've realized is not a talker, you're a doer. You know, even getting this setup going. It's something that you said, you know what, let's get the conversation going, let's get people involved.
Yeah.
Those that want to be part of it will be a part of it. Those that don't, won't. We carry on.
Excellent.
We keep it moving. But a strong nucleus of people will always be more effective than a weak grouping of non-serious people.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to appreciate you for that. And more importantly, a lot of people have got views, they've got opinions that will remain in boardrooms, dinner tables, and informal settlements, informal settlements, informal settings, and social settings. What you've done and I've seen on the internet and on your Twitter spaces, and what it is that you do. You make your view very clear, it's very bold, very direct, and it's very out there. From a social media perspective, from a backlash Because some of the things you say are, as much as they may be relevant and truthful, they're hard hitting, and you know it invokes certain feeling in people. So I'm not sure who's on social media, what it is everyone does on social media, which platforms you're part of.
Yeah.
But I think from my side, I'm always interested because I'm not on social media. How is that journey? How has it been?
Yeah.
Pros, cons, experiences. How does it affect you when people say certain things?
It's funny, we're laughing because we're actually talking about this yesterday.
Yeah, just
What I've learned about social media space is that it's powerful if used correctly, but it's also powerful if used incorrectly. It can be very disruptive and destructive, and it can be very uplifting and positive, depending on your understanding of it. So if I know, like for example, I'm not a social media person, but I know the purpose on what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to change young people's mindsets. I'm trying to bring young people into a certain way of thinking, of understanding. I'm trying to bring awareness to certain things. So I use my social media just for that purpose. So if you understand why you are in the space, I think you can better navigate it and use the positives of it.
Right.
Partially I've learned though that don't respond to comments.
Yeah.
Don't respond to comments.
Yeah.
Don't respond to
Intelligence.
no one cares what you gotta
no
say.
one cares.
People just want to say what they want to say.
Sure.
Yeah.
So even if you come with brilliant points, no one cares. You know. So one thing I've learned is stick to what you want to say. Switch off notifications. Don't respond to comments, and you'll be fine.
Right.
But understand why you're using it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've actually come to realize that a lot of the negative comments that I read.
Sorry to
coming-
interrupt. And then what platforms are you on, and what's your Twitter handle?
My handle.
For sure.
I'm on
So if some of us want to
follow.
then you know.
So I'm on Twitter as Maswazi Mhlongo, at Maswazi Mhlongo, and then I'm on Instagram as Mhlongo Zipozonke, and then I'm on Facebook as Zipozonke Mhlongo. So it's pretty straightforward. There's no Muslim names in there, no Alamin.
Yet.
Yes, I should actually update it after Ramadan. But yeah, that's my space, and that's where I push a lot of what we're doing here, what we're doing behind the camera. Everyone here has contributed to trying to uplift and change our mindset as young people. So yeah, I appreciate everyone that's here, and I appreciate what all of you guys are doing. Nobody tries to get on social media as a philanthropist or whatever, and then after 2 weeks he's like, nah, this is not for me. Then he deletes it,
Comes with time.
and then he comes back.
Yeah, no.
Oh, what's your
guilty.
approach, bro?
I'm guilty about that. I'm guilty for that. Yeah, sure.
No, wait,
Social
Chief.
media.
Oh, we interrupted
Oh yeah, sorry.
Nana before. Sorry for that.
We
But
saw you
yeah,
just
she
talking.
was, we interrupted Nana. She was making a point.
I was going to say that before, when I'd read like negative comments, you know, I'd find myself, oh my gosh, like he's been so upset. But then I realized that a lot of people are speaking things that are not truths in the comments. And you end up feeling so sorry about this person that's so angry, typing something that is not a fact. So I really feel like, especially the youth and people that are still looking to vote, to actually educate themselves on facts.
Yeah.
Don't hear or just listen to what you read or what the media has said about so and so. You dig in and you find out yourself how far true is this, and you know, discern information. Discern. Don't hear what your neighbor feels or what they don't like about. A lot of people dislike people or dislike things because people close to them dislike it.
Yeah.
And we all just get on that bandwagon of disliking and hating this thing and thinking it's a fact, whatever we think. So I really urge people to find out the truth, because this is your actual life. You need to make decisions based on facts. So yeah, it's that. And another thing I just want to just tap back into the sports development. Lewis Hamilton, he just started when he was 20. He was a child.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to be developed. Nurture the skill from a very young age. I think that the administration needs to focus on having all schools, no matter which province, no matter private, public, every child has to have the opportunity to play netball, have the court available and decide maybe sports is not my thing, I'll do this. But a lot of children don't even get that chance to actually know how good they are at a thing because it's just not there. And then as a result, what does a boy end up doing when they get older? Just hang around in the corner and talking what? Things that are not making sense, especially for themselves and for their future. So I think that's what we really, really need to look into. As far as the police system, I'm a woman in South Africa and I do not feel safe. I live in Cape Town. I live in a safe area in Cape Town, which a lot of people don't have that advantage of, but I still don't feel safe. If something were to happen to me, I feel like going to the police station is like a joke.
Yeah.
It's like if you go there and you say I got raped or I got sexually assaulted, first of all, the policemen themselves are sexually assaulting us. Security guards are trying to get your number, trying to see how they can see you later, and that's not a good space for us to be in. It's not okay. So the men are not protecting us. You don't have to be a policeman to protect a woman. You just have to be a man and realize that, you know what, we need to nurture these people. So something is really wrong. That's why I said the family.
Yeah.
Something is going on there where if you see a woman getting beat up by a guy, you'll think she deserves that. Let's not become, maybe she cheated, whatever is happening there, that's what she deserves. So we really need to feel safe. The process of me getting into my vehicle to leave my place, it's like, okay, in, lock, look around, open garage, because someone can be inside. And so something really needs to happen there. Something really needs to happen. Opportunities sometimes, you don't even go for the thing because you feel like, oh gosh, say for example, I had a construction company. And then I'm like, okay, I want to do this. I already feel like, Mhlongo probably, he's got the connect, and then you feel discouraged before you even, because the system we don't typically feel protected and taken care of by the system. So we just think, nah, that's not for me. It's a man's world, they say anyway. So let me just leave that and just try and find catering and just cook.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to talk about the latter, social media, and feeling unsafe as a woman. Social media is a really great tool. It's a tool, just like a gun. It can be used for crime. It can be used to defend someone, for defense. Just recently, there was a girl that actually posted her own father in social media.
I saw that.
Yeah. Speaking about how her father was an abuser, and all of that, and trying to protect her mother and exposing her father and stuff like that. So I'm saying that, okay, in that point, social media can be used as a great tool. It's a great tool in any case, whether it's crime, business, marketing, all of that. But also it can be used as a very disastrous thing. As we've seen with the death of AKA, people pointing fingers, making speculations. People just need to be careful about what they listen to in the media, whether it's social media and the media as well. The media is not, innocent in this as well. People just need to be careful how to discern, how to disseminate information. When you get information, ask yourself, why am I being told this? How am I being told this? So that you can make it make sense for yourself as well. In your own world, make it make sense, and ask yourself, okay, hang on. Does A make sense? Does B make sense? Does it make sense for me? And then make your own judgment before you start pointing fingers. Before people start making dangerous accusations that could put people's reputations and lives in danger. You know what I mean? And so social media, it's good. It's good. It also helped with and bring awareness to GBV as well. We've seen it with Anele. I can't pronounce his name. Anele Tembe. As well as Anele.
Winene.
Yes, Winene, the one.
Winene,
the
UCT
student.
2019, I think.
Garabo, all these cases would have not come to light if we didn't have social media. If I'm being honest, we read about it in the paper, but in the paper has like 80 articles. The next day has another 80 articles. So yeah, but things like that can be curbed. Society needs to learn. We're learning bit by bit, and sometimes some things are in our hands as citizens.
Sure.
I like to think,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe just to try to start wrapping this up, as I have to fetch my kids from school. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I don't have it. I'm joking. But as a leader,
Tamagotchi.
as someone that people look up to, as someone who's achieved a lot and is relatively out, can be 40 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
For someone who's 40 and the amount of things that you've achieved on a business level, on a personal just goals that you've had for yourself, but just for as us as young people, when we look at you as someone who's been super successful, but just the way you've led your life, you're very principled and you mean what you say and you do what you mean. So when you look at the country in a nutshell, and we're leading up to elections now, what is it that you feel like we should be focusing on as young people? As I think everyone would agree, we are the future of this country. What do you think we need to do better from now until next year? What do we need to do so that we can have a better South Africa after the election?
Two things. One, we need to take ourselves a whole lot more seriously as a society, but more especially as the young people out there. The youth of this country, not taking yourself seriously. So if you don't take yourself seriously, no one else is going to take you seriously. So we need to take, and I'll just say it, I don't want to point fingers, we need to take ourselves seriously. And then secondly, we need to, we have a lack of discipline in this country. Discipline and respect, we see it. Without respect, without discipline, we are not a society. And this is why we have a lot of these issues, and this is why we see it playing out even at the highest levels. So those are the two main things. And we live in a democracy, and we need to understand, we need to go back to basics, as what Anana said. Majority rules. I cannot stress this enough, because what happens is there's a certain minority that's running us, and they're doing it outside of a system because they've seen the loopholes, they've seen the lack of seriousness, they've seen the gap on lack of opportunities, and we need to close that gap. And how that will be done, and the outlook from my side, I'm very positive in the outlook. I'm very optimistic. I'm very bullish on where this country is going to go. Our involvement, our intervention is super important. There is no better opportunity. But when I speak about majority ruling, is we have 3 majorities in this country. I like to speak about it now. And I'll place them in chronological order from 3 to 1 in my view. The third majority being black people. We have black people in this country that exist, biggest number, but we're not using those numbers to benefit what it is that we believe in. What we do is we use those numbers to always complain about what it is that we're doing. Protesting, everything that we see about, it's always hands up in the air. This place is not serving us, and the government is not serving us. No, the government is a government that you put there. And if you didn't vote, it's your fault that government is there, because you didn't play a role in saying, hold on one second. This person doesn't represent us. They don't look like us, they don't talk like us, they don't dress like us. They don't understand the issues of today and the solutions that need to come to the fore by the people that are the majority in this country. Secondly, I'd say is the female. Women in this country outnumber men. And why is it that women are always the ones getting the raw deal? Once again, women need to stand up. Women need to take themselves seriously. Women need to understand, guys, the power is in our hands. There are more of us than there are of them. We are being affected by these issues. We feel unsafe. We feel like we're not getting access to opportunities because of our gender. We are told this, and that. Stand up. Once again, how do you make that difference? If you're really serious about it, is we've got the numbers. Let's place people in those positions of power that represent us.
Yes.
That needs to happen. And it's not a stain on anyone, and it's not a stain on thinking that this is just the way the world works. The people that are most will rule that area, that roost, that country, that society, whatever it is. And the first one would be young people, the youth of this country. Very, very underestimated, very underutilized, but this is not something that is happening because it's people controlling it. It's because ourselves as young people are not taking ourselves seriously. So we need to stand up. We need to be up to the task. You know, the time is coming where, guys, are we ready? I believe we are. Is everyone ready? Not everyone's going to be ready at the same time. But there's an opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, to bring these three majorities together at one time to make a game-changing scenario in South Africa for the next 100 years. We miss this opportunity because people say, why don't you guys wait till 2029? 2029 there'll be nothing worth saying. It's too late. This is mission critical. We are at the precipice of this issue. If we don't get involved now, because people say, but surely you've got something better to do. Are you just chasing power? I'm saying, I've got better things to do with my time than trying to convince people about something that they know and that they should be doing anyways. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, we're not in the business of us doing the song and dance. Guys, we all know what it is that we need to do. Let's do it. Now, why is it important that we do it in politics? Is because if we are trying to get to a place where we open up the playing field, we create opportunities for each other. That's legislation. A lot of the rules, the laws, the acts that exist need to change. We need to reform a lot of things in this country to deal with our ills. Socially, we need to reform. Economically, we need to reform. And what we're proposing for these things to happen is a political reform. The status quo as it stands, ruling party, opposition, everybody, that needs to change. It's not working. Let's be clear about it. What is it that we are proposing? What is it that we are trying to do? What we are trying to say, what we're trying to do, and what we are going to do is let's depoliticize how this playing field. Because everything that we speak about is politics. There's politics that everything degenerates to politics. Let's depoliticize it and say, guys, this is what we're trying to do. This is how we're going to do it as a society. Black, white, Indian, colored, young, old. But this country needs to be driven by people that are most represented by the dynamics, which is the number, the percentage. Otherwise, we'll find the issues of the majority sitting here saying, we feel unsafe, we don't want to jump in our car. What is it that we're doing to deal with these issues? If we want to see more female police, let's see more female police. They're there. It's not like they're not there. But you got to run there 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? So simply put, the power of the X is super important. It's underrated. We've seen a lot of people staying away, young people staying away from the polls, saying we're not interested in politics. Yet politics is the one thing that finds us all in the situation where we don't have access to opportunities, jobs, healthcare, safety and security, and we are to blame. We can't blame everyone else. So in a nutshell, South Africa is a pearl in the ocean of what the rest of the world is. There's more emphasis and more interest in South Africa now, more than ever. Let us be those people that take South Africa to the next level. Full stop.
Appreciate that. I think it's time to get the bill. It's time to get the bill.
Yeah, not we. It's time you get the bill.
Okay, but I'm speaking for
collectively.
Yeah. But I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Thank you guys for actually availing yourself. I know you probably was hungry, so there's an opportunity to come and eat. But the conversation was really interesting, and this is not the only conversation we're going to be having. You know.
Alright, still good?
Yeah, we are. According to him, we are wrapping up. So we'll be getting some to nibble on shortly. You know.
Alright.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't want to chew on camera. It's just not going to look good.
Alright, no problem.
Give us something to Anyway, so I just want to say, guys, we're starting the conversation. We're starting the conversation because we're gonna go all over South Africa and have conversations like this. We don't have to be there, but hopefully this starts many other conversations with people that are like us.
Solution-driven conversations. Whichever part of the country you're in. If you're going to come sit at the table and have a conversation, don't come and say, what are the solutions? No, you got to come. Even if your solution may not be 100% the right fit, but come with something. You can't leave it to someone else all the time. You got to come to the table. Step up.
So this is our future. This is what we're fighting for. But it starts with the conversations, and then that leads to action. But let's shorten the gap between conversation and action.
Correct.
Because that's some of us fall in love.
Less talking, more action. 100%.
So I want to say thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you guys availing yourselves.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, and to the viewers, to the team, the production team, director, editor, the basketball players, and all that.
The LA players.
Iverson in the 90s.
Thank
This is not a joke.
Yeah.
We're serious about what we're saying. We're serious about what it is that we're doing, and we're going to get there, with or without you.
Yeah.
The beauty about this is the more people that get involved, the better. Because as much as it's politics, it's not only about occupying a position or being a mayor or a councillor. I mean, that is played out. That is old school. You need to be. Activism is about doing things. It's about action. It's about getting involved. You know, it's about realizing that there's an issue and helping resolve that issue, not waiting for other people to, you know. So people like boiling down politics. No. Take that away, please. You're not done yet. We're still gonna have something to eat. Are you trying to chase us? No, we said we're going to have something to eat.
I think that's symbolic. That the conversation is finished.
No, we
That's
don't.
symbolic.
No, we're not done yet.
Are you sure?
100%.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, man.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
So the activism is a very important role
Yeah.
that we all need to play.
Yeah.
You know, we have to stress this, and you know, it's an exciting time, it's an important time, and as much as you may be in whatever discipline that you're in, you being politically active does not mean you'll be going to protest somewhere or picket somewhere or go sit in some chamber somewhere that dealing with opposition parties. No, you are taking an active role. You are placing yourself in a position where you're part of a solution. You need to step up. You know, this is not pre-94 where, you know, there's a certain battle that's being fought. This is the battle of a lifetime now of how we're going to take this country from where we've come from, being liberated politically, to a point where we all have opportunities. So it's about financial inclusion. It's about getting our hands on opportunities, creating opportunities for others as much as we create opportunities for ourselves. You know, let's do it. The time is now. There's no better time. There's no better time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brother, for
Nana,
coming through.
Ngobi, thank you very much.
My
Thank
brother.
you.
No, thanks.
My brother.
My brother.
I just
Easy.
want to say he's the only one who put on makeup today. Just gotta put it out
That's
there.
a fact. Yeah.
Just gotta put it out there.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's a wrap.